Welcome back, everybody, to the Capes Cast podcast. I'm Jeremy,
And I'm Ryan.
and this week we are going to be reviewing Avengers Twilight,
Yes,
mainly
sir.
issue number 6, but we'll probably recap like our thoughts on the whole series at the end.
Yeah,
So, uh, I'm glad I picked up these Acuna variants, man. These are
they're
cool.
sick, dude.
They're pretty tight.
I mean, you can't go wrong with either Alex Ross or Acuna. So
Yeah, that's true. But there was a good lineup of artists. I almost got them both for
yeah,
the whole series, but I didn't want to pay $5, like $10 for this book
yeah, I don't blame
every
you.
month. So, um. where it left, so the last issue left off were things with like Red Skull and James and the Avengers that have like, you know, assembled, like reassembled their
Right,
fight. And it was Hulk turned out to be like the secret weapon.
right.
And
Because
that
we
they
found out that Heroes Day is the day
right,
that all the heroes die.
right, but it's the
Last
H
issue
never
we
really
find
stood for
out,
heroes.
yeah, last issue we find out it doesn't stand for heroes, it stands for Hulk.
Right. So yeah, and then for like those that don't remember, like in the beginning, because like issue 1 or issue 2, it was explained that a lot of these heroes were like mind controlled by Ultron.
Right,
And and a lot of the supervillains were being like amped up by Ultron and Red Skull. So like it was like this really orchestrated like takedown of superheroes,
right,
and to show like basically like that was like kind of the beginning of things. Like it started like all that propaganda of like, heroes aren't good. Heroes are, you know, because they're around, all that you suffer all these losses
right,
that could be avoided if they didn't exist. It's kind of like the sales pitch they keep coming back to.
right.
Um, but yeah, this issue opens up like it's like right after um we're we assume that Tony and Janet are dead,
Right,
and we see James like kind of like being talked to. He's being given like the last things that were in the hotel where they were last seen alive.
right,
Um, and it's a ring. And so he keeps it. And then Kyle Jarvis, he kind of assumes custody of James and takes him under his wing. And that's like the beginning, like his basically James's origin that sets him on the path to where we're at right now.
right.
And we now know that Jarvis is Red Skull.
Correct.
So cool stuff. This book kind of had it all, man. Like the whole series kind of had like everything you like about the Avengers, like you get
Yeah.
like a solid like rebuilding the team. You get some really cool character moments. I mean, and in this issue, you get like a classic Thor versus Hulk battle. So
Right.
it's kind of
this
every
this book, like by the end of it, I was saying that this was like Captain America's Dark Knight Returns. While it still is that, this issue like made it known to me that it's basically like Captain America's Dark Knight Returns mixed with Marvel's Kingdom Come. Like this feels like
yeah,
a kingdom, like Kingdom Come, where all the heroes died from a nuclear bomb, whatever, and you know
right.
what I mean. And basically, the new generation has to continue on. Like in that sense, this is basically that, and I love it. I think it's a
Yeah.
fresh feeling story for Marvel.
Yeah, and it's I like stories like this because it gives us like a different kind of perspective on these characters, that we
Yeah,
because I feel like that's my one complaint with Marvel is I feel like you don't see enough like Elseworld style storytelling with Marvel.
right.
They play it very safe.
Well, the thing is they do like what ifs, and then it's like a one and
Yeah.
done. They never really return to the what ifs again. Like like DC will they'll plant that seed and keep nurturing it for this
Yeah.
universe to keep going. But Marvel's
Right.
pretty
Like
much
so
just like
like
we told that story, we're done. Let's go.
right. So like it's kind of like a bummer that we don't get stories like stuff like that from Marvel because it would really be interesting to see like more, if even if it's not more of Twilight, it could be more of stories like this. You could
Right.
get a follow-up a 6 issue volume 2 that
Right.
expands on the previous one, like I mean, or you even get like the graphic novel stuff. I I've only read it one time, but I feel like Marvel 1602 is a really good example of why Marvel should do like that kind of stuff.
Well, relevant to this, Chip Zdarsky even said, like, remember when he was doing that Spider Shadow book?
Yeah, he was supposed to do like a whole what if line.
Yeah, and he even did like made like a graphic logo
Hmm.
for Marvel to use, and they just
Yeah.
never, you
Yeah,
know.
it was only
So
that one book, and that was it. And that was a really, really
I
good book.
loved it. I wouldn't mind having more in that Spider Shadow universe. I wouldn't
Yeah.
mind
I
reading
mean, and like
that.
and if they wanted to use what if as like you know, their Elseworlds imprint, why not? Like it's already there, it's already established.
And now
Like
DC's doing it. DC's got the whole Elseworld brand coming right back with the logo.
yeah, yeah, like and I guess the thing I think about too is like you get books like Spider-Man Reign 2.
Yeah.
And like while yes, that's an Elseworld story, who in the like
And they
there
even
there are
like,
probably a million and one ideas that are better than that for any character in the Marvel universe.
yeah. And I mean, to go from basically the way they even are promoting it, like the most notorious and infamous Batman or I mean Spider-Man story ever.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, it's
nobody asked for this. Nobody asked for this. It's terrible, but I do think it is a, Chip really was trying with Marvel to
yeah.
do
Oh yeah.
something.
No, for sure. It's just a shame nothing came of it because there could have been a lot of really, really great stuff, you know?
And before we get back into it, Daniel Acuna's art, he is awesome. I will read anything this guy does from now on just because I really do love his art, and I feel like it fits the tone for this book so
Yeah.
well. Like everything's smoky, everything is just these deep grays and dark oranges, and you know what I
Right.
mean?
And
It
and
just,
like it's interesting because like that first half of the series it's like it's in contrast to this because everything is like neon lights, really pristine, like you're looking at
yeah,
the futuristic like cyberpunk city. But now it's just like every single page there's just destruction and ruin.
yeah. It's borderline almost like, I wouldn't say it's like realistic, but it almost is. It's like a really good like in the middle between like realistic and
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain it, but I really do enjoy his art. I've never seen his art before this, so.
Yeah, the first time I ever saw anything by him was when he was doing some variants for God of Thunder back in the day, like when everything
Oh,
started.
okay.
I think he did the first few issues. I think it was the one in 25s,
Yeah,
and then maybe a couple others throughout Aaron's run.
right.
But they were all sick ass covers, dude.
Hell yeah.
Um, yeah, so now this is kind of when the Thor and Hulk battle starts, because Hulk is just like running rampant, and the only thing that can stop him is Thor.
Right.
So,
Because he's pretty much just gone. His like mind is he's
right,
gone, you know.
right. There's not much of Hulk left. And I think it's probably been that way since H Day. Like he's
Right.
just it's the secret weapon waiting for them to pull out.
Right.
Um, and then we get like more of an interaction between James and Tony here. Uh, after it's the pacing on these fights are really, really good
Yeah. I agree.
because you're like each page. I feel like you're getting like bits and pieces of each like fight that's going on. Like you
Right.
got the James and Tony bit, you've got Cap and Skull, you've got Hulk and Thor, and they've each got like a moment
Right.
as the issue goes on.
This is like the end climactic battle if it was a movie. This is like the big,
Yeah.
but in my opinion, it works better in here because we're able to just flip back and forth from different pockets of
Right.
light, you know.
Right. And so Tony notices that James is wearing the ring, and we get a flashback of right before Tony and Janet, were found or were missing or dead back then. And it turns out and this is how I think it is. This is how I understand it.
Yeah, they
Is
didn't really explain it too well in this.
I'm assuming she was shrunk down and like frozen cryogenically, or I don't know. Some Marvel magic. We're just gonna say that,
Right,
like some Marvel sciencey stuff allowed Janet to stay inside the ring and be preserved
right,
until given the exact shock that was needed from Tony to bring her back. And she was inside the ring the whole time, like we were thinking that she was dead.
right.
But no, she was just stuck inside the ring as kind of like a failsafe.
Which, by the way, let me just reiterate, I like the idea of Tony and Janet. I never thought I would like that, but I actually for this, I really enjoy that
I
we have
mean, I want to
where
say
they
they had a brief stint during Slot's run.
that doesn't surprise me. But
So yeah, so like, I mean, she's like famous for all intents and purposes.
right, and I mean she's scientifically savvy. It's just
Yeah,
she's with a non-violent scientist now. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
And at this point, hell, man, I'll take any kind of Janet or Hank
Yeah.
stuff I can get because they don't.
More Janet, please. That's
Avengers Inc. got canceled, man.
so fire. I know. He was killing that series too. He was
It was
killing.
so cool, man. It
Yeah.
just sucks that we had to wrap up what should have been a 10-issue arc in five.
Yeah. I agree. Because I even love, not to get out of a tangent real quick, but I
Oh
really
yeah,
love that Al Ewing Wasp book. That was really good too.
yeah.
You know,
No,
that was fire. So it's like more Janet, please. Just give me more.
I would love one day for Hank to be able to like at least come back like properly. Like it's maybe I'm just like it's a pipe dream. Maybe it'll never happen.
I honestly, I'm not. I wish they would have done this. I- there's no saving Hank. Like he's pretty much like the first canceled like comic book character. Like once
Yeah, yeah,
he was canceled. Like in
yeah.
my opinion, they should have just made him a villain after that because there's no redeeming him. Like they should have just made him like, oh, you know,
Right. Like it just it sucks, bro. Because I think Hank is such an interesting character.
yeah,
Like, all right, I read the Ultimates,
yeah,
earlier. And Hank's in that, and I think and he's probably the most interesting character of in the whole team.
right. Well, in this verse, I'm sure he's not a domestic abuser, right? So
No, no. And if we do the Ultimates, we review the Ultimates next week, which we might.
yeah,
Um, I'll save it for that, or even like maybe later this week, like we'll talk. But like,
for sure.
it was cool. Hank
I
was cool, man. But
I
yeah,
can't
like
wait. Like going back to the other universe thing, Ultimate Universe, my favorite thing that Marvel's doing right now. It's a whole nother universe that they're nurturing, that Jonathan Hickman is taking care of, and it just shows you what Marvel could be doing if they actually put effort into something that isn't the 616.
right, right, man. Anyway, back to Janet. Yeah, so
Also, this
so kick ass, bro.
dude, this art, the way the colors, dude, I love this guy's art, man. It's such uh I want more. Like I'm sad that this ended because I just want more Acuna art.
It's funny because like most of this issue is just the fight, you know,
Yeah,
and it's just so good. Like the whole thing is just good.
yeah,
Like you get like Miss Marvel that's now like joined the fight, like Hawkeye, who used to be Bullseye.
right.
Um, you've got even like one of the defenders comes in and is like beats the hell out of one of the soldiers,
Yeah,
and then like it's a really good balance of showing like the civilian side of the fight and like the Avengers versus the villains.
right,
So um what's interesting is while all this is happening, the reason that we go over to the civilian side of things is because they're trying to set up like a audio video feed, so that way they can kind of out the Red Skull so everybody can see what's going on.
right.
And he's super confident that it doesn't matter what he says or what he does, that people are just gonna fall in line anyway, because like he thinks he knows them, like he's catered to their every whim for the last 20 years or whatever.
Right.
So he thinks he has them like by the balls, which
Yeah.
he probably does. Like had the Avengers not been here, just like really had they lost, who knows what could have happened.
Right.
But yeah, so they finally take down Red Skull. They send him to, or like he's gonna like fly him off into the atmosphere, right? Like out of the atmosphere because he's gonna just like detonate.
Yeah.
Isn't that what it was?
Basically, Tony does that. Yeah. Tony takes him up to the sky.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the Ultron tech. Like it's the failsafe. So if he does die, it'll explode.
Right.
So yeah, James is like, "Oh, I can do this. Like I can make up for what I did. Like I'm making things right." And then Tony's like, "No, like, you're just getting started, Iron Man."
Which, to be real, when Tony came back and we realized he was alive, I realized that it was probably not going to be for long.
Yeah,
You
no,
know, it's
absolutely. Yeah, no, yeah, there was no way because he uploaded
already
his
just like a
consciousness.
torso and a head. That's it.
Yeah, they uploaded his consciousness into this body.
Mhm.
So he's just a robot now.
Right.
Uh, so I guess in theory they could have backed him up and like you know plug him into another body. I guess
Yeah.
it would just be a version of Tony that didn't know that he died. I guess
Who knows? Maybe that'll be the sequel. If in case Marvel loves this so much, and
evil AI Tony,
that'd be nuts.
dude. But it's
Yeah,
Ultron still.
that'd be nuts.
I don't know if they'll do that.
They wouldn't. I don't. I think Chip is maxed out of Marvel right now.
Yeah, he's out for
I think
now.
he's all in on Batman. Sadly.
Yeah. And then so you get like that bittersweet moment with like Janet's trying to revive Cap because he's like down for the count.
Right.
You've got James flying up to save everyone where Tony like switches with him. And then you've got Hulk and Thor who are still brawling it out and Hulk's just trying to destroy everything and kill everyone. And it's a nice moment here with Thor where he says it's tis too much, Bruce. I'm sorry.
Right.
And you get like all of like the flashes between each thing that's happening. She's still trying to revive Steve. You see them sinking into the water. You see Tony like flying into the atmosphere. And the bomb goes off. Hulk is left at the bottom of the sea with the hammer on his chest, but Janet was able to revive Steve. So, they lost a couple of friends,
Right.
but they saved Captain America and hell, saved the world.
Yep.
And then you get like that nice reunion between
Rosa and Cat.
yeah, Rosa and Cap. Well, yeah, and then Janet and James too,
Yeah. Yeah.
right
Yeah.
there at the end of the fight. Yeah, and just to kind of recapping things, like Thor goes back to Asgard, and then you have Loki, which I really like this. I like this moment here
Which
when
one?
Loki says like
Oh, I know. Seeing Loki in this was like, what the? That's cool.
yeah, it was hell. This was probably like my favorite moment of the issue
Yeah.
where he's like, a fun time had by all, I presume, dear brother. Loki, I'm in no mood for your taunts. No taunts, my liege. You've been quite moody of late. The crown grinding you down. I figured a whisper here and there to get your attention wouldn't be the worst thing.
So it's
And he's
pretty much like
uh,
Loki orchestrated a lot of this to happen.
yeah, like well, exactly. And it's an interesting take on Loki because it almost feels like that they've gotten over their differences. At this
Yeah.
point, they're older, they're tired of this like back and forth. And this is just like obviously pure speculation because I've got nothing to base this off of. But just this interaction between the two of them, like you almost assume that they're kind of like in better term on better
It
terms with
almost
each.
kind of feels like how they are in Immortal Thor right now, where they're kind of,
Yeah,
you
we're
know,
like because he's just implying that like he said, hey, like you needed something to like just to get your ass off the throne, so you like to cheer you up. So you wouldn't have been involved with this, but I taught the Earth Boy how to pray, so you got summoned down there.
right.
So like it was just a cool moment, where he's all like, "Of course you didn't think some child could reach the gods, did you? I brought your Avengers together the first time. It only seemed fitting that I aid that process yet again."
I love that. That's great. Like that's
Yeah,
love.
and then you get Bruce Banner and Tony Stark in Valhalla.
Yeah, I thought that was such a cool way to end it, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah, exactly. Like just the whole rest of the conversation where he says like, what nefarious goal was behind your intervention, God of Lies? After all these years, I've actually grown quite fond of you, dear brother, and getting you out of the house seemed like a good idea. These things are in your nature, adventure, helping, avenging. It's what your life should be like until the day you finally enter Valhalla. Man,
Yeah. And
I
it's
love
just
me
like,
some
yeah,
good.
Thor must have done us a favor to get us up here. So it's like, yeah, man, this is so cool. Like I
Yeah,
love that idea. And it just goes back to what I said about Kingdom Come. Kingdom Come ends with them at
yeah,
that like superhero diner where they're all sitting and
yeah.
talking. And then it's like here, they're all sitting there at like this table and they're all talking and
And then you get them like rebuilding everything, like James and Kamala
yeah.
and the new Hawkeye. Man,
My only complaint, which is a pretty minor one, is I think it could have benefited from two more issues where we kind of saw more of what happened with Janet, why, and where we see. I feel like the James flip was too quick. Like I
yeah,
feel
like
like we could have
I've
like eased into that in a few
right,
issues.
like I feel like had we been given another issue or two, or even if this issue was a little bit longer, like an oversized, kind of like the first one, I think was a little bit bigger.
Yeah,
If this was a little bit longer, I feel like you could have fit a few pages in of having James and Skull fight and and air out a lot of that, like a lot, air out a lot of that stuff because then
yeah,
you could have had them like him realizing his mom's alive, that he was manipulated. Like from the time he was a boy, he trusted, Jarvis, and he was, and now it's like everything that he's known is a lie. So now he's like taking it all out on Skull, and it gives him a few pages to do it.
right.
I don't know. I'm just glad it was an alternate universe take on the
Yeah,
Marvel universe. It was good. It was refreshing.
yeah,
It was interesting to say the least. Like a lot of the characters, feel like familiar, but also it's almost like enough time has passed and things are different enough for us to be like that's maybe not like something I would have expected them to do,
yeah,
but yeah, it was really interesting. I really enjoyed it. I hope we get more stuff like this in the future.
yeah. And it just sucks because Chip's killing it here. He's killing
Yeah,
it,
man.
and I just it just kind of sucks. Like I kind of want more Marvel Chip at this
Yeah,
point, which is weird to say. Usually, when people go to DC, I'm like, it's cool, go stay at DC. But now I'm like,
yeah,
I feel like Chip's more of a Marvel writer, if that makes sense. I feel
yeah. I mean, the last half of his dare, like after Devil's Reign, I wasn't really feeling his Daredevil all that much,
it was spinning its wheels a bit. Yeah.
but it was still good. It was still something that like when I read it every month, it wasn't like it was a bad read, like
Well,
I
Chichetto
I
helps with that.
yeah,
Chichetto helps with
and I think I was just gonna say
that.
the one the one benefit to that is when you had Chichetto on the book, it was top tier.
Yeah.
But the drawback was how often he wasn't on the book in that 14 issues.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it should have just been like what else was he doing? Like was he had already started on Ultimate Spider-Man by then?
Right.
I don't know. Like, and maybe,
Well,
but
even then, he's only done like 3 issues of Ultimate Spider-Man so far.
yeah, that's true too. It's only yeah, he comes back this next month for
Yeah.
July's issue.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, again, speculation, obviously. Of course I don't know, but like it's like stuff like that, like stuff that could easily just like one tweak and I'm like I'm more in.
Yeah. Well, just speaking of that, since we got time, how did you feel about the latest issue of Ultimate Spider-Man, where it was just pretty much just Harry centric?
Oh, that was great, dude.
Yeah, me too.
That issue was so good.
I see a lot of people are complaining about it online just because it's why you give Harry his own issue, and it's like, dude,
Why
like,
not? Why
yeah,
wouldn't you?
and not even that, just the implications that Harry has for the Ultimate Universe right now is
Yeah, like he's this close to having a seat, which is probably his move, is to having a seat on the Cabal.
right.
because then he can play it up like, oh, I'm just because here's the thing, Fisk has that role now because he acquired Stain Stark, but he only has that because Howard is no longer in the picture,
Right.
you know? So what's Harry's move? Obviously to take Fisk out, which is going to be the next issue. So that earns him a spot, like a seat at the table.
Right.
And if it earns him a seat at the table, what does that mean for him? And what does that mean for Gwen? So, like, if anybody's complaining that Harry got his own issue, they're just okay. Stop reading the book then, because you clearly are missing the bigger picture.
Yeah. And I
Because,
and
like,
I didn't mind the art for it. I thought it worked well for it. I
yeah,
thought
well, I was the same person as last issue,
right.
which was
Where
good.
it's
Like,
like
it was,
you don't need this much action, right? When you come to these two things, like these two last issues were like character studies, like where we get to
yeah,
see Harry and Gwen mixing with MJ and Peter, and then we get this one where it's just all behind the
yeah,
scenes of
and
what's up with Harry.
You get Otto too in here,
That was cool. That was cool seeing Otto in it. It makes me wonder what's going to happen with that.
right? Because yeah, and literally, I like that they even touched on like uh Gwen was like, "You're gonna need to sign an NDA," and then Harry's like, "He's already signed one," and she's like, "No, like a new one." And
Yeah,
he's like, "Oh, otherwise I don't get to play with all the toys," and she's like, "Correct."
yeah,
So it's cool to see like he almost has this like open access to this technology to see what he can do with it.
right,
Um, it's interesting stuff. So like, give me two more Harry issues. I don't care, like because it seems like that this book is not just about Peter Parker.
right,
This is a book that's supposed to like feels like it's redefining Spider-Man, but not just redefining Peter Parker and his relationship with his kids and his relationships with his villains and his relationships with his friends. It's just redefining the world as a whole.
right,
And it's giving us like again a familiar enough take, but with enough twist on it that everything is new.
right. And it's pretty much for the people who were around like our age who grew up on
Yeah.
Spider-Man, where we have a Peter who's 35, just green, new into it.
Yeah.
I love that. It's such a fresh new feeling, and it's just like finally Marvel is actually letting someone build a whole new universe. And
Yeah.
because the last Ultimate Universe, they just let it just run to hell. Like it just
Right. It crashed and burned with Ultimatum.
yeah. I mean, but it was like Marvel didn't care. They were like, "Oh, it's separate
Yeah.
from 616, so we could kill off as many people as we want, kill them all off." And it was
Right.
just
Like
edgy
because
for the
like
sake of being
I mean
edgy.
when you think about it, what were the only big like knockout successes of Ultimate Spider-Man by
Spider-Man.
Bendis and then
Yeah,
Ultimate Spider-Man Miles Morales.
yeah,
You know,
that's it. Which is why that's the only thing they kept.
right? Literally,
you
yeah.
know, Everything
But
else
like,
because Ultimatum was awful. It was terrible.
yeah,
You know, and
I
just
have
the
I have no desire to revisit that.
no, which
It's
sucks
funny
because Jeff
because
Loeb
like
is
I
usually
was,
great. Jeff Loeb is usually fantastic, and I don't know how the hell he crapped the bed that hard on that one.
yeah. I think the only thing that I really enjoyed because I've never finished Ultimate Spider-Man. I've
Oh
only read like again. I mean, you know me, I'm like the worst when it comes to starting and not finishing something, or
yeah,
I used to be that way. So I've been better about it, but Ultimate Spider-Man is still something I mean, I've probably got like 40 issues into it, maybe. So I've never finished it. But other than that, I think the only thing I ever enjoyed from the Ultimate line was Ultimate Thor.
yeah,
That's because it was written by Hickman.
right.
So like and that was like pretty early on in his like Marvel stuff.
But even then, like even the way Cap was depicted in that Ultimate Universe, he was just
Dookie, bro.
he was a terrible. He was awful.
Yeah,
He was
he was
mean, like not hopeful
yeah,
at
you
all.
think this X stands for France?
Yeah. It's like, dude, like that whole universe was just edgy for the sake of being edgy. Like, how
Yeah.
edgy can we make this? And it just sucked. And I'm just so glad that they finally gave Hickman somebody who actually will take care of it. Like, he will take care of it. They give it
Right.
to Hickman, who will literally nurture this thing. And actually, I wouldn't be surprised if this gets so big that it becomes like side by side with 616. Where
Yeah,
you
who was I was just saying something. I was talking to somebody earlier about how I feel like this they could definitely do a crossover.
oh yeah, I think they'd be dumb not to. I mean, you have like all the you had Reed 616 Reed saying we got to go find him, we got
And
to see what he's doing, and
the
they got all the
ultimates
artifacts
only
back.
the ultimates only like reinforces that feeling for me that they're probably gonna do some kind of crossover.
They have to,
Because yeah, I mean they set up this whole universe out of the 616 when you had the Maker going around collecting all that stuff and encountering the Illuminati.
right? So that
So
he
they
still
have to
has a
they
bunch
have
of 616 artifacts. He still has a bunch of it.
yeah,
So, and Reed did say like basically hinted that like we're gonna find you, we're
yeah,
gonna find you, and I just don't know when that'll be. I imagine it'll probably like the first event of this
yeah.
thing, which is great because there's only like 4 titles, so the event for this would be solid. You know,
Self-contained, man. It'd be really,
yeah,
really tight.
yeah. And I wish that they would just. I wish more of these people like who do comics would take notes because it's like I don't want to follow for Skybound. I don't want to follow like 4 different GI Joe books for for X-Men. I don't want to follow 9 books for
I mean,
all.
I guess Energon is like probably the one other universe where it doesn't feel like it's bloated because even though we just came off of Duke and just came off of Cobra, having Scarlet and Destro take their place isn't really like having another book to have to read.
Right.
It's just swapping them
Basic,
out. So it's
yeah.
still only 4 books, but it's just because half of the books are G.I. Joe at
Right.
all times. So it's like G.I. Joe. Do I really want to read G.I. Joe?
Yeah.
Like I mean, they've been good. Like I read Scarlet yesterday. That was good.
Well, that's Kelly Thompson, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. Well,
Solid read. It was just like a cool,
she's
like
solid
spy
all
book.
around, man. She's great all around. You
Yeah.
know.
It was a good read. I'll finish it probably.
Yeah.
Destro is up next, and that's Dan Waters, I think.
Oh, okay.
He's
He's very hit or miss for me.
hit or miss.
Yeah.
The Loki series he did was pretty good, and then what was that? Gosh, man, that Boom book he did where it was the photographer going for all seasons, maybe. That's the Superman book.
I don't know. I
Damn
don't know
it.
what that one is. All I know is that he's been doing the backups for the Rams Detective Comics run.
Oh, okay.
He's been doing, and those are actually necessary. You have to actually read them to get the whole background of more of the story of it. So,
Let's see. Oh, he's also doing that other half of that Ram series, um, the one hand
oh, okay.
and then the six fingers. Like he's doing the other half of that. So they must be working pretty closely together a lot.
Yeah.
What titles do you have?
Because he just did a sort of Asriel series too, and that was okay. That was okay. Asriel's pretty irrelevant nowadays.
Yeah, I remember you telling me that was just like pretty average.
Yeah.
I think it's the seasons have teeth.
Oh, okay.
Let's see. Yes, the seasons have teeth. That's what it was.
Okay.
That was a good series. The ending was kind of like you either liked it or you didn't. You
Right.
know, that's pretty much what it boiled down to. But it was good. I enjoyed the monsters in that.
Yeah.
Um, I will talk about this book really quick before we
Oh
head out.
yeah, Dawn Runner. Tell me about it.
Have you been reading this?
I haven't. No, I'll probably buy the trade because I've heard nothing but
You
great
need to
things.
you need to buy the trade. This shit was insane.
Is it over?
No, dude,
Oh,
it's ongoing.
oh shit.
To
Okay.
my
Well,
knowledge,
I
it's
love Evan
ongoing.
Cagle. I love Evan Cagle.
It is absolutely crazy. Like it's like Evangelion meets Pacific Rim meets like I don't even know like it's mind bending, it's like action packed, it's weird, it's like kind of uneasy.
Okay.
It's crazy, man. It's wild.
How many issues is it so far?
It's this is the third issue, and they had like they dropped a bomb.
Oh, really?
It was sick. This was a good ass issue.
Maybe I'll
I
check it out.
So yeah, like a little bit about it is it's like there's this these monsters called the Tetza, which are just like kaiju,
Okay.
have invaded Earth, and they've been like fighting them for like several hundred years, I think. And humanity's gotten to the point where their technology is advanced enough to create these things called Iron Kings, where they're like giant suits of armor, and they have people like pilots them. And this is kind of where the Evangelion thing comes into play,
Okay.
where like they're they've been using these things called Iron Kings, and they fight with them, and it's like almost like a Gundam style thing at first, but then you get like the newest version called Dawn Runner, and what they use to power it is a human brain,
Okay.
and it has like a really really like deep connective interface that like it connects with the pilot. And in the first issue we get like some overlap where they're like aware of each other, but it's somebody who's dead. They've been dead for a long time,
Right.
and they start to like communicate with each other. It's such a trip, dude. It's
That's
a
crazy.
wild ass ride. And like the lines really really get blurred over the last two issues as she starts to interact with this brain, like with this Dawn Runner more.
So you're getting lost just like the main hero is.
It's crazy. So I recommend this, man. This is so damn good.
I'm gonna get the trade for sure.
Yeah, definitely. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in again.
Later
Peace
on,
out.
guys.